The Ru River in China's Henan province once flowed with a quiet dignity. For centuries it had carved its path through the landscape, a lifeblood for the fertile plains surrounding it. Its waters nurtured crops and quenched the thirst of communities. The river was a symbol of continuity, a seemingly gentle giant in the vast tapestry of nature. People lived alongside it, respecting its moods, its seasonal swells and its occasional furies. They understood its power, or so they believed. Few could imagine the scale of devastation it would one day unleash, a catastrophe born from a confluence of human ambition and nature's untamed might. The river, so long a companion, was about to reveal a terrifying alter ego, one that would etch itself into history. The story of the Banqiao Dam is a stark reminder of this duality. It is a tale of progress sought, of warnings unheeded, and of a natural world pushed beyond its limits. The ambition to harness this energy, to control the waters for the betterment of humankind, was a noble one. In the 1950s, a new dawn seemed to break over China. The nation was gripped by a fervent desire for progress, for industrial might and agricultural abundance. The Great Leap Forward was a testament to this ambition, a colossal effort to transform the country. In this grand vision, controlling water was paramount. Rivers, once wild and unpredictable, were to be tamed. Dams became powerful symbols of this new era, concrete manifestations of humanity's perceived mastery over nature. The Banqiao Dam, constructed on the Ru River in Henan province, was one such emblem of hope and engineering prowess. Built in 1952 with the assistance of Soviet engineers, it was part of a larger project to harness the region's water resources. The dam was designed to be a bulwark against disaster, specifically engineered to withstand what was then considered an extraordinary event, a 1-in-1,000-year flood. Even as the Banqiao Dam stood as a monument to progress, there were voices of concern, whispers of doubt that questioned the prevailing optimism. One such voice belonged to Chen Xing, a prominent Chinese hydrologist. He was a man who understood the capricious nature of rivers, the immense power hidden within their waters. Chen Xing had reservations about the design of the Banqiao Dam, and more broadly, about the intensive dam-building program that was underway. He argued for a greater emphasis on maintaining natural floodplains and river channels, rather than relying solely on dams for flood control. Unfortunately, in an era focused on rapid development and monumental achievements, such cautionary voices were often sidelined, dismissed as overly pessimistic or as obstacles to progress. The decision to overrule experts like Chen Xing, to prioritize rapid construction and a particular vision of water management over more cautious, scientifically grounded advice, was a critical human error. In early August 1975, a storm began to gather strength in the Pacific. It was named Typhoon Nina. Initially, it did not seem exceptionally threatening as it moved towards the coast of mainland China. Typhoons were a known hazard in this part of the world, a seasonal trial that communities had learned to endure. However, Nina was to prove different. Upon making landfall, instead of weakening and dissipating as most typhoons do, Nina took an unexpected turn. It veered inland, and then, fatefully, stalled for several days directly over Henan province, the very region where the Banqiao Dam stood guard. What followed was a deluge of almost biblical proportions. The stalled typhoon unleashed an amount of rainfall that defied all previous records and expectations. In a single 24-hour period, over 100 centimeters, more than 39 inches of rain fell in some areas. The carefully constructed defenses against floods were facing an onslaught far beyond anything their designers had ever conceived, a truly unearthly fury that would soon rewrite the definition of disaster. As Typhoon Nina relentlessly battered Henan province, the water levels in the Banqiao Reservoir began to rise at a terrifying pace. On the night of August 7, 1975, the situation became critical. The inflow of water from the ceaseless rain vastly exceeded the dam's discharge capacity. Engineers and workers at the dam watched in horror as the water crept higher and higher, surging past the designated danger points. Desperate attempts were made to open the sluice gates to their maximum, but it was too little, too late. The sheer volume of water was overwhelming. A critical flaw soon became apparent. The emergency spillways designed to release excess water and prevent the dam from overtopping were partially clogged with sediment and debris. This blockage severely hampered their ability to function effectively when they were needed most. Just after 1 a.m. on August 8, 1975, the unthinkable happened. The Banqiao Dam, a symbol of China's engineering might, succumbed to the colossal pressure. It did not just crack or leak, it disintegrated. The failure of the Banqiao Dam was not an isolated event, it triggered a terrifying domino effect. The immense surge of water, now an unstoppable force, thundered downstream, overwhelming smaller dams in its path. In total, over 60 other dams, including the large Shimantan Dam, collapsed in a cascade of failures, each breach adding more water and more destructive power to the already catastrophic flood. The entire river system was transformed into a raging monster, erasing landscapes and communities as it carved a new, brutal path across Henan province. The scale of the devastation was almost incomprehensible. Entire towns were obliterated in moments. One such place was Dawencheng, a county seat with a population of 9,600 people. When the flood wave struck, there was no escape. Every single inhabitant perished, swept away by the torrent. Countless other villages met similar fates, their existence wiped from the map. The immediate death toll from the flooding was staggering, initially estimated at around 26,000 people. The darkness of the night only added to the terror and chaos. As the floodwaters from the Banqiao Dam collapsed and the subsequent chain of dam failures began to slowly recede, they left behind a scene of unimaginable desolation. The immediate violent impact of the deluge was horrific, but a new, more insidious enemy began to emerge from the stagnant pools and decaying landscape. Disease. The waters had swept over everything, contaminating drinking water sources with sewage, chemicals, and the remains of animals and, tragically, humans. Conditions were ripe for the rapid spread of waterborne illnesses such as dysentery, cholera, and typhoid fever. The survivors, already traumatized and weakened, now faced this silent scourge. Medical facilities where they still existed were overwhelmed and lacked supplies. The sheer number of people affected, many of them injured or sick, made any organized medical response incredibly challenging in the initial aftermath. The lack of clean water and sanitation created a perfect breeding ground for epidemics. For many who had miraculously survived the initial flood, this secondary wave of suffering proved fatal. In the aftermath of the Banqiao Dam's catastrophic failure, an almost impenetrable wall of silence descended. The Chinese government of the time, operating within a highly controlled political environment, chose to classify the disaster. Information about the true scale of the devastation, the number of casualties, and the extent of the destruction was tightly managed and largely suppressed from public knowledge, both domestically and internationally. For years, the world remained mostly unaware of the magnitude of what had occurred in Henan province in August 1975. This was not just a natural disaster, it became a hidden apocalypse. The reasons for this secrecy were complex, rooted in the political sensitivities of the era. The Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution had already placed immense strain on the country, and the government was keen to project an image of strength, competence, and control. Admitting to a disaster of this scale, particularly one where human error in design, construction, and crisis management played such a significant role, would have been deeply embarrassing. It would have called into question the efficacy of the state's ambitious engineering projects and its ability to protect its citizens. The Banqiao Dam disaster, once shrouded in secrecy, now stands as a chilling testament to the catastrophic consequences that can arise when human ambition outpaces ecological understanding and caution. The loss of an estimated 171,000 lives and the displacement of 11 million more makes it the deadliest dam failure in human history. Its destructive power surpassed the combined immediate death tolls of Chernobyl, Hiroshima, and Nagasaki. This sobering comparison underscores the immense destructive potential locked behind even seemingly benign structures when things go catastrophically wrong, a stark lesson in the forces we seek to control. In the wake of the disaster, and particularly after its details became more widely known, there were, eventually, efforts to learn and rebuild. The Banqiao Dam itself was reconstructed in 1993, and the Shimantan Dam in 1996, presumably with improved designs and safety features. A countrywide examination of reservoirs was conducted. The hydrologist Chen Xing, whose earlier warnings had been tragically ignored, was reportedly involved in clearing river channels and advising on reconstruction efforts after the disaster, a bittersweet vindication of his foresight. Despite the horrifying scale of Banqiao, it did not lead to a global halt in hydropower dam construction. The story of Banqiao is not just one of tragedy and failure, it is also, in its own way, a story of human resilience,